Chapter 3. There were strangers with sharp eyes and sharper tongues. Reagan complained about the furniture, about the food. She once told him his laugh was annoying. Cole didn't talk much, but when he did, it was usually about what they could have had if they'd kept him. How much did they give you? You live good, huh? He'd muttered under his breath once when River was 12. Bet they treat you like a prince. River had stopped eating that day. It took Vera months to get him to speak about the visits. When he finally did, he only said, they come because they want something, not because they want me. Vera wept that night, silently, in the laundry room. He heard it anyway. What broke him wasn't just that they came for money, though they did. Always hinting, always pressing. What broke him was what he learned later. They weren't not ready to be parents. They were just not ready for him. 4 years after abandoning River at the hospital, they had another child, and then another, 2 full siblings. Raised, named, loved, at least more than he ever was. Sometimes he'd dream of that, not as people, but as symbols of what he didn't get, of the family that could have been but never was. Adam once said, some people lose you, River, and they never feel it. That doesn't mean you were nothing. It means they were. Maybe he believed that. Some days, but other days, when he stared at himself in the mirror and saw nothing familiar, he wondered what was so wrong with him that they could just leave and never look back. The visits became routine. Once a month, then every other. Then whenever Regan and Cole demanded something. Money, time, proof that River was still theirs, even if they hadn't earned the right to say so. Vera and Adam never said no, not out loud. They were too kind, too afraid of making things worse. Too hopeful, maybe, that giving them access might soften something. But it didn't. It sharpened it. River never complained, not once. He packed his little bag, walked to the car, and climbed in with tight shoulders and a fake smile. He came back quieter, sometimes limping, sometimes pale, sometimes with bruises that looked like they could speak for him, but didn't. When Vera asked, he'd smile and say, trip playing soccer. When Adam noticed a cut near his lip, River shrugged, just bit it. But it wasn't soccer, and it wasn't an accident. It was Cole. By then, Cole drank like it was medicine. Rage sat just beneath his skin, simmering at the boil. River never knew what would set him off, a misplaced word, a long stare, a reminder that this child had become something without him. Sometimes Regan would stop it. Other times she watched and said nothing, her hand holding a cigarette while her eyes flicked to the TV. River's siblings, half-siblings really, lived in another world within the same house. They had bedrooms with names on the door. They had birthday parties and jokes. They were held, praised, posted on the fridge. He was a guest, an obligation, a bruised echo of what could have been. He never stayed long, but it didn't take long. He learned to flinch without showing it. He learned to wrap his arm in his hoodie sleeve so Vera wouldn't see. He learned to lie. Beautifully, because the truth felt like a betrayal of the people who loved him the most, Adam and Vera. He didn't want to make them angry, or sad, or ashamed, so he swallowed it, all of it, until eventually Adam said quietly, one night, you don't have to go anymore. And River didn't argue, he just nodded, and let the lie rest. But even years later, when he heard glass clink or a man's voice raised in anger, his ribs remembered. He'd stopped seeing them when he was 12. Stopped pretending, stopped making excuses for bruises, stopped flinching at the word family. Adam had told him, gently, like he always did, that he didn't have to go back, that real love didn't feel like fear. And River believed him, mostly, until he was 15. That was when Cole came back. Not Regan, just Cole. Alone, older, weathered, sloppier, a little meaner around the eyes. He showed up at the clinic where Vera worked, asking to see River. Claimed he'd been clean, claimed he wanted to make amends, claimed he just missed his son. River met him anyway, because he still wanted it, still wanted a father. Not Adam, the man who'd loved and raised him, the man who actually deserved the title. But Cole, the ghost. They met at a diner. River wore a button-up, tried to look older, sharper, like someone who might be worth staying for. Cole barely looked at him, just ordered coffee and said, you've gotten tall. Then, not long after, you must be costing them a lot. River didn't reply. He didn't flinch, but he felt it, right behind his ribs, that old bruise blooming again. Cole didn't ask what River liked, or how school was, or if he was happy. He asked about money, about whether Vera and Adam had a life insurance policy, about whether River planned to be a doctor. That pays, right? River paid the bill with his saved-up bus pass allowance, and when Cole hugged him goodbye, his hand stayed a little too long on River's shoulder, and his breath smelled like cheap vodka and something else, regret maybe, or rot. River went home and told Vera it went fine, told Adam Cole looked different, then locked the bathroom door and scrubbed his hands until his knuckles went red. Didn't answer the next 3 calls. Didn't respond to the birthday card that came without a signature, just a folded 10-pound note and a coupon for coffee. He let Cole fade into silence again. Like a bad dream you pretend not to remember even when you do. But he never stopped wondering what was wrong with him that made love look like that. Why a boy could be left, bruised, and forgotten. While somewhere else, 2 other kids called that man Dad. The last time River saw Cole in person, it wasn't voluntary. It was months later, working a shift at the corner pharmacy. Head down, sleeves rolled, focused, clean, doing everything right. Cole showed up out of nowhere, reeking of stale beer and entitlement. That mix of tobacco, sweat, and sour beer was unmistakable. It hit him like a memory he didn't want. Hey, Cole said, gripping River's shoulder. Too hard, too sudden. You've been ignoring me. River turned slowly, instinctively polite, instinctively afraid. I've been busy. Cole's mouth twitched. Right, too busy for your old man. River didn't answer. He looked over Cole's shoulder toward the entrance. No one else is coming in. I'm working. Not anymore, you're not. Cole's hand tightened, then shoved. River stumbled backward, crashing against a shelf of toothpaste. Before he could speak, Cole had dragged him out the door. The next few seconds blurred, an arm yanking his wrist, a slammed open door, the engine roaring beneath them like a threat. You're coming with me, Cole said. To where? You'll see. He didn't. Not really. Get in the truck, he slurred, grabbing River's arm like it was still his to claim. River had barely registered the voice before he was shoved, shoulder first, against the side of the rusted vehicle. The passenger door opened like a threat. I said, get in. River froze. Not because he was afraid. He was always afraid where Cole was concerned. But because something in him still obeyed, still folded small under that voice, that smell, that man. He slid into the passenger seat with his heart punching his ribs, tried to remember the breath counting Vera taught him, tried to stay quiet. Cole drove like rage was in his foot. You think you're too good for us now? He barked, swerving down side streets like he didn't care who died first. You think because you've got those rich parents, that job, those stuck-up shirts, that you're better? Cole talked the whole way, ranted more like, about how River owed him, how Adam and Vera had poisoned him against his real family, how River was getting too big for his boots. River stayed quiet, hands folded, knees together like armor. He didn't cry, he didn't beg, but he also didn't try to get out. Somewhere deep down, a 10-year-old boy still hoped this might be the moment things changed. Maybe Cole would finally say something kind. Maybe he just needed help. River didn't answer anything. He knew better than to feed fire. Cole kept going, said they were going to talk like men at the bar. That River owed him that much, that he was the reason River existed, so a little damn respect wouldn't hurt. River stayed still, staring out the window, counting road signs like exits from a life he'd been trying to leave since birth. Paramedics said a trucker found the wreck. Police filed a report but never found Cole that night, said maybe River had been the one driving, said boys like him sometimes snap. But Adam knew the truth. He burst through the ER doors like thunder, his gray sweater soaked through and his fists clenched. River was barely conscious. But he remembered that moment, the way Adam's face shattered into grief and rage all at once. Later, when River woke up properly, Adam was sitting beside him. He always was, sitting beside the bed in an old sweater, soaked through and heavy, his glasses fogged, his hair flattened by the rain, his hands folded in his lap like he was praying. But for what, River wasn't sure. Where's Cole? River asked hoarsely. Adam didn't answer at first. He won't bother you again, was all he said. He stood to pour water, kept his back turned just a little too long, spoke just a little too calmly. River said nothing. But the next morning, when Adam brought him a fresh shirt and a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes, River noticed the bruises. One of Adam's knuckles was split, crusted red, wrapped in a makeshift gauze. The other hand was swollen, stiff. Adam tried to hide it, kept shifting the blanket to cover his lap, tried to use only his left to pour coffee. He never told River what happened that night, never said where he went, or what he did. But River knew that this man, 72, slow to rise, gentle by nature, had found Cole, had tracked him down behind the gas station where he was holed up, half drunk and laughing like none of it mattered. And Adam had defeated him, not to hurt him, not really, but because some things had to be answered. River never asked for details. He didn't have to. When Adam handed him the mug of tea, River wrapped his unbroken hand around it and whispered, "Thank you." Adam just nodded. "Get some rest." But River didn't sleep. He stared at the bruises on Adam's hands until dawn. Because no one had ever fought for him like that before. Not with fists, not with fury, not with love so fierce it split skin. And in that moment, River understood something sacred. He was not born from Adam, but he had made him. "He left me," River whispered. "He just left." Adam didn't say anything for a long time. Then he reached across the bed and gently brushed the blood-matted curls from River's forehead. "You're not him," he said softly, "and you never will be." The final abandonment left a hollow spot in his chest, a wound that no amount of affection from his adoptive parents, no amount of academic success, no burgeoning musical talent could ever truly fill. It was a constant, aching void, and yet here he was, an aspiring doctor, a husband in a marriage that was nothing but a formality, and a man who felt more lost, more fragmented than ever before. The suit, the degree, the marriage, they were all elaborate illusions. The truth was, he felt like a ghost drifting through his own life, an observer in a story where he played a forced, unconvincing part. His phone buzzed again, vibrating against the tabletop. A message from Lakin. "Dinner tonight?" The expectation in the text was palpable, a new demand. He didn't answer. He couldn't. Instead, he reached for the dusty old photo album on the shelf. The one Mom gave him years ago, filled with snapshots of a childhood he was grateful for, but which still felt incomplete. He flipped through pictures of birthdays, holidays, summers filled with laughter, and there, on a sun-drenched page, smiling back at him from a muddy field, was Kate. The memory of her face, the way her eyes sparkled even in the dim light of that tiny Berlin apartment, the effortless way she had seen him, truly seen him, made his throat tighten. He thought about that night, 3 months ago, how she had pushed him away with such fierce pain, but still held a piece of his heart, a fragment of his soul she unknowingly carried. Was it selfish to want that back? To want something real, something that resonated with the profound love his adoptive parents had shown him, instead of this cold, transactional existence? He leaned his head against the cool kitchen wall, the ache in his chest growing deeper, expanding with every breath. "Maybe Mom's right," he whispered to himself, the words barely audible in the silent apartment. "Maybe I do deserve someone who really sees me, someone who makes me whole." But the question lingered, a relentless echo in the quiet. How do you find that when you've spent so long hiding from yourself? How do you accept it when you feel so unworthy? The answer didn't come, not yet. He stared at the framed photo of Mom and Dad on their wedding day on the kitchen counter, their smiles bright and full of innocent hope. They weren't his blood, but they gave him everything. Love, stability, a home, more than his birth parents ever did. Still, the abandonment had left its indelible mark on him. It was like a shadow he could never quite shake, a fundamental flaw he believed he carried. His adopted mother's voice echoed in his mind, soft but insistent. "True love, River. You deserve that. Someone who makes you feel like you belong." He glanced around the sterile, minimalist apartment that Lakin and he called home. The walls were too bare, the air too cold, too silent. Their marriage was a quiet arrangement, more like roommates than partners, an unspoken agreement that had warped into a chilling demand. She wanted status now, attention, a life elevated by his professional ascent. He wanted escape, peace, and the elusive feeling of being truly seen. The thought of Mom being sick, this cancer the third time it had returned, now terminal. It made everything feel fragile, transient. Every moment felt like it could be the last with them. He should visit, call more, do more, but somehow, the distance, the emotional insulation, felt easier, self-protective reflex. He closed his eyes and breathed in the faint scent of coffee still lingering in the mug on the counter. A fleeting reminder of the morning. He wanted something different, something real, something that felt like the warmth of Kate's room, like the acceptance in her eyes. The phone buzzed again, another message from Lakin. "I'm waiting." The impatience in her tone was clear. He locked the phone and slid it face down on the table, the black screen reflecting nothing. He wasn't ready for that conversation yet. He wasn't ready for another performance. Instead, he pulled out an old notebook, the one he kept for songwriting, for moments when he needed to escape through music, his burgeoning secret passion. Flipping through pages of scribbled lyrics and half-finished melodies, he found a verse that perfectly fit the ache he felt inside, the hollow space that resonated with his own loneliness. "Lost in a crowd, but alone in my mind, searching for something I'll never find." He sighed and put the notebook down, the words echoing the futility he felt. Maybe Mom was right. Maybe he needed to stop running. From the past, from his feelings, from the possibility of love. But where did he start? How do you rebuild when everything feels broken, when the very foundation of your existence feels like a lie? The soft, insistent knock at the door pulled him back to the unwelcome present. It was Lakin, standing there with that look she always wore when she wanted something from him or from life itself. Her perfectly made-up face was impassive, but her eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, held a sharp, impatient expectation. He didn't have the strength to face her right now, to play the role she demanded. He closed his eyes and whispered, to himself, to the universe, not today. She didn't move, didn't say a word, just stood there, staring through the closed door, as if waiting for him to cave in, for him to perform his part, but he couldn't. Not anymore. He couldn't keep pretending. He couldn't keep living this lie. The dam within him finally broke. He sat there for a moment, the silence pressing in, louder than her knock, louder than her demands. Something shifted inside him, a snapping thread, or maybe a door creaking open for the first time in years. He had nothing left to give her but truth. Lakin, he said, his voice low and trembling, raw with a sudden, fierce resolve that surprised even himself. I want a divorce.